Ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've all been waiting for. I love this microphone. All right, guys. There's no more bullshit. We're finally getting into it. All the disclamation has come up to this point. This is the first trip. Now, I was doing all this talking and I was like actually starting to choke on like what do I actually choose to do first? So I decided, we might as well go at the beginning here. And this is kind of cool because all of this was basically happening exactly a year ago. In the time frame of when I'm going to be releasing these videos, I think I'm just going to do them consecutively. So here we go. This happened in January. Now, just to give a little context clues, before you have done any of this, how do you get it, right? So I'm hitting up the homies. I'm like, does anybody have a plug? Someone finally has a plug. I'm like, yes. I don't think my homie was expecting me to actually bring some on the ski trip, but here I am. I'm like, when am I going to buy some more of this stuff? So I might as well buy $50 worth. And just to give you guys a little bit of an insider, like LSD is a really cheap drug compared to other drugs. So, I don't know if it's fitting for me because I've always been kind of a poor boy, but that's just kind of how it works. Think about it. $10 worth, one tab, that can last you at least 12 hours. You divide it up into 4 tabs the way I would use it. Now you have 48 hours, and if you count the whole week of productivity you get after that trip or whatever you're using it for, then, it's an infinite, it's invaluable compared to $10 worth of alcohol you drink, $10 worth of weed, it's a joint, and then you can even get even less and less into like fucking other drugs. But anyways, I'm like $50 worth, I don't know, I want to make sure I have enough. So anyways, I pick up, a couple days prior. Now we're on the way up.
That's you fucking bastards.
My buddy, he's tried it once, twice before, I don't know. He's telling me horror stories about it. He's telling me, you might, have a bad trip, whatever. And I am just kind of listening to it, absorbing it. At this point, I haven't done too much research. I didn't really want to because I feel like, you want to interpret it yourself. I had known the realm of what it did. I had acquired enough information to know I was interested in it, but I wanted to figure it out myself. That's how I do things. I always learn shit myself, Even if it's the hard way, it's the way that I like to do it. So, he's giving me these warnings and I know what sort of thing this is. I know that some people have apparently done their best work on it, and then other people, have had these terrible, near-death experiences or whatever. And I must know, logically in my head that your brain creates it. It's dependent on the individual and their headspace at the time. So I'm just like, Zen, like, I'm ready for this. I just knew I was ready for it. So we finally get up there, man, and I don't know how long we've been there. It's only been like an hour or so. It's like 5:30 at night, and we're about to go to the store. We're going to go grocery shopping. We're going to buy some liquor for the weekend. And I'm like, I'm taking this now, man. Fuck it. Like, I know what this is. Apparently, people can go out with it. I'm only taking a QT. Apparently it takes a long time to set in. And I know this is going to be okay. I'm not going to be paranoid. I'm not going to be anxious. We go to the store, we buy some food. Everything's good. I'm like, nothing's really kicking in yet. We get to the liquor store. And if you guys have listened to the album, Cherry Brandy at the end of the album, it's the last song. I ended up purchasing that in that liquor store. All right, I'm going to buy some Jim Beam, some Red Stag, and whatever. They don't have it for some reason, so I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to wait in line. I'm going to talk to the guy at the cash register. And it's a long line. It's Friday night. I guess it's a busy time to be going on this weekend, before skiing or whatever. And we're waiting in line, man, and it hits. The QT starts to hit, and all of a sudden everything starts, vibrating, glowing. I don't want to get into actually how to describe it right now. It's it's so hard. But anyways, I'm sitting there. I'm like, all right, here we go. I got to go talk to this guy. And I just understood that you're only ever awkward if you feel awkward, The only time that people don't trust you is you don't trust yourself. So I get up there, man. I'm talking to the guy, and he's looking at my eyes, and I'm pretty sure my eyes are pretty dilated or whatever. Maybe I had some rosy cheeks. I know that happens to me. And he's looking at me. He's like, this guy is not sober, but he's talking to me perfectly fine. And he's asking me if I have any sort of cherry brandy behind me. So I'm going to go get him some. And he went and got me some. This little plastic bottle. I said, yeah, whatever, man, whatever you got. I purchased it, and that was like my first experience of the QT hitting me. So then, we go back, and, I'm just enjoying everything. I'm just really happy. And the more that it starts to hit me, the more I realize, okay, this is more than just having fun. This is something I feel like I need to use. Like it's enhancing my brain for some reason. I saved this Snapchat. I said I'm learning new things and being mad productive. I saved a bunch of notes from the weekend as well. And this is one exciting thing about the channel is that I've been saving notes this entire time. And it's always like, how do I bring them up? And now I'm going to be able to bring them up. So here we go. So the very first thing I decided to write down, January 18th, acid is the key to the great premise. Now, is this someone falling in love with a drug, or is this someone actually discovering something? The premise world is boring as fuck, gloomy even. The main character sees it completely differently. Obviously, I'm writing this in some sort of first person or whatever. It's almost as if he has acid goggles or something when you show it from his point of view, but only his. Most importantly, he has a song playing in his mind that no one else ever has. It lasts for entire episodes even. So, like, this is one example of how I'm always coming up with these show ideas in my head, and it sucks how, you create them and they just seem like they could come to fruition and be something beautiful, each and every one of them. You don't know which one's going to, but you have to put so much time and effort into it. None of them ever end up doing anything, so that's just the depressing part about it. But I've always thought this would be a really cool show idea. And I mean, this is kind of how I feel all the time. This is how I wrote the album. I always have these songs playing on repeat in my head. It's some sort of insanity because it is the same half an hour over and over again for months. And how I'm tweaking it, and it's always playing, and it's not even something that's ever been written down or played efficiently enough the way I hear it in my head. But it is always there. So it would be interesting to depict that in some sort of show form, where all of a sudden, you're in my head or whatever, in the character's head, that would be based off of how I felt. And all of a sudden, everything's bright and contrasting, and you hear like a theme song going on, and all of a sudden, someone's like, what the hell? I wonder what that guy's thinking about right now. And it goes back to him, and he's just like sitting there, because you wouldn't know what's going on in his head. Another show premise. You just record audio of hilarious hangouts and put sketches to it, real organic like. Now, this is something I've been trying to do since I came up with this on the ski trip. Or I didn't come up with it, obviously people have probably done this before, or people do this successfully already, but the thing is, I discovered that this would be a good idea for myself. I'm like, guys, the best moments we ever have are when, no one's anticipating that they're being recorded or anything, it's I love it when it's like that, and you're doing it for yourself, and it's, you just get these gems where you're always like, fuck, the camera should have been rolling. So, I don't know, since this moment in time, I always try, when I'm like, all right, everything's really good right now, like, we're all sauced, like, this is pretty hilarious stuff we're saying, I always try to just sneakily, like, throw down, the voice recorder, like, maybe we could put some sketches to this at some point, or capture this, Okay, so I'm progressing now. God damn, there's no reason to write it down, man. I don't need to say it for myself, and literally I don't care about other people, but in a zen way. So, like, this is me starting to come to the realization that I was about to sit in for a few months, that I didn't really have to share any of my discoveries yet, because it was like, what's the point? I mean, I already have it for myself. I'm looking internally, and it's nice. I've conquered it, So this is me sort of saying, oh, yes, I'm finally doing me, and everyone else is doing them, and we can just blend now. Of course, that doesn't last forever. Anyways, we got an oh shit sketch on the same note. What would happen if you were to be caught skiing or whatever with mad drugs on you? Discuss how you would be super chill and real about it. I thought this would be hilarious. I was like, dude, all right, I still have my cognitive ability, if it's not even enhanced right now, and I still have my articulation and my confidence. So imagine if I was tripping sack per se, and I, got brought into a justice system and I was still tripping sack for some reason. I don't know. I know it's hard to believe this sketch, but this is what I was thinking. Like, imagine if the character was just sitting there confidently. Your Honor, I haven't shown any signs of distress because I understand that everything I have undergone has been a formal production of the system. However, I also, imagine if he was just like owning the room and everyone was like, oh, like, fuck, this guy's like actually onto something right now, and apparently he's supposed to be tripping. Now we're getting to even scarier stuff. Anything you could say is eventually going to be wrong. Now, this is me regretting a lot of the things I've said in the past. This is me understanding that, like, my opinions were changing so fast right in front of me that I was like, oh shit. Truth is so relative that nothing is ever gonna be always correct, and that is so hard to get across to people. This is a realization that really fucks with me sometimes because, I don't know, paralysis by analysis or whatever. Like, this keeps me, from posting a lot because it's like any opinion you could have now could change, and in understanding that, it's like you never really want to say anything, too hot of a take because, you might end up, disagreeing with yourself later on. And there's nothing wrong with that either. There's, opinions, viewpoints, they're supposed to change. Values are going to change. But it's just this feeling of like, so why bother saying anything? Everybody has their own different, unique truths. So what's true for one person might not be true for another person at the same exact time. Two completely different things, and they're both accurate. I hope I've come across like I don't try to talk about things like I know like one absolute thing. Like I always just kind of theorize and just say like this is a possible explanation. Oh, my camera just fucking... All right, whatever. And so this is also why I become very frustrated when people try to act like there is one truth or like the way they perceive something is the ultimate way to perceive something. And I'm like, okay, can you at least acknowledge the possibility that what I might be saying that you disagree with, that you're predisposed not to believe, it could be accurate. There could be validity to it. It is a theory. And so acknowledge my theory as I acknowledge yours. So here's another interesting note from the night. And it's funny because like it just sort of sums up the frustration that a lot of us have when trying to explain the effects that we feel while experimenting with these psychedelics. So I actually did use a real person's name, and I had to censor it out for obvious reasons. But the only thing you need to know is that basically we always regarded him as a pretty trippy dude or whatever, a philosopher of the group. So it all intersects. It all makes sense. He makes sense. Shame to only other hymns. I think I mean shame only to other hymns. You know what I mean? The vibrations intersect. Vibrations are everything. Shame to only other hymns. It's funny, I made the same grammatical error, or at least it's an error to me right now, twice. I think there's a lot of value to this note. It all intersects, it all makes sense. The vibrations intersect. Vibrations are everything. It's funny, like, all of this, remember, I didn't do a lot of researching. I didn't do a lot of listening to what other people had gone through before I tried this. I wanted to do it and have my own experience and my own review before it was tainted by expectations, And what's funny is that a lot of my perceptions of what was happening, apparently, they're pretty common. Like a lot of people see vibrations. A lot of people feel as though they intersect. And it's just interesting to me that this is what I was feeling the very first night that I felt like I was having this profound experience. And you can see that I also am just a little sad that, it's a shame that other people just will not understand it. It's just, it's like trying to explain color to someone who's colorblind. Like, that's a really good analogy, honestly. Okay, so if I had to say I did one piece of writing, one note that was most important to me of this trip, it would be this. I would say this is a poem. I was actually in poetry class my last semester, and this is something I ended up turning in. So here we go. That girl could be mine. You know what? We're going to get into the poetry class that plays a big role in the album. We're going to get into my relationship with wanting like some sort of inspiration, some sort of muse, some sort of girl, in my life, and never really feeling like I really had the one I was looking for. So that, I don't know, that's maybe one of the reasons why I personified LSD with Julia or whatever, but that's a different story, a different video. Lucky day. It'll never reach the peak. I once had some change. 2 quarters, 3 pennies, a nickel, and a dime. Now, this was some change I had from the liquor store. I left them right there in my right jacket pocket, open to the world. I didn't zip it up or anything. I told myself the dime would go first. At the end of the day, it was the only one I lost. The dime represented, like, that perfect girl in your head, the dime. And it's funny because I was like, it's the smallest one. I'm probably going to lose it first. And I did end up losing it that very night. I think the idea is that I wouldn't have cared if I lost the other ones, they're just change. But then the dime had like this metaphorical value. And of course, it's the one that ran away. The universe took her. We're going to get into the universe later. I fucking love the cold, looping from time to time. So excited to be alone. Everything comes together so perfectly. So here I go again, I'm doing these cliche, trippy, notions or whatever. You see my anxiety, you see my introvertedness here. so excited to be alone. The thing is, a lot of people, they say, the first time you do it, you might want to be with someone, you might want to be with a guard or whatever, I forget what they fucking call it, like a guide, like a trip guide or whatever. Thing is, like, I tell people there's a good chance you might just want to be by yourself. The thing is, you want to figure yourself out. You might want to stare in the mirror for a little bit. You might want to sit there awkwardly in your room and just look around for half an hour and just reorganize things. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to look at my life, and I wanted to look at it by myself for a while. So here we go. Holy shit, this is what I needed. Scary. What is that? What is that? Is that future addict stuff right there? Go outside and play. Now, this is something interesting. If you're depressed, if you're not motivated to enjoy the world before you try this stuff, and then when you do try it, you are, and then when you come down, you're not anymore. People start to think, oh, it's because he's not on it, that, now he can't appreciate the world. But I don't know, in my experience, I wasn't appreciating the world beforehand anyways. So this, at least, it's always a reminder, like a little, like, come on, bro, go outside and play. I tried to capture the exact way those words were on a picture. So from my bunk, I could see on the wall, like, this little painted picture. It said, go outside and play. Almost exactly like that, if you could paint it on, whatever. Mama should have never told her son to be careful. I don't know what this is, I guess I wanted to write this at the time. I don't know. I don't want to trip my mom, but I think this is sort of a jab at the fact that, I already was having some sort of anxiety, some sort of self-consciousness that, I'm taking all this joy in this drug that apparently I'm not supposed to take so much joy in. What would my mom think of this right now? And then I'm wondering, am I only resorting to this sort of thing because I was so sheltered and so don't leave the nest? So I try to dive into the psychology of it, but how far can you dive into your own psychology, Now, this is interesting. I was reading this like a month later, and I don't know, it was kind of fucking with me or something, and I decided I needed to add one last line to this poem. Now I'm gone. Holy shit, this is what I needed. Go outside and play. Mama should have never told her son to be careful. Now I'm gone. I put it in red so that you could note, last modified February 14th, but created January 18th on the ski trip. I think that was me just recognizing, like, okay, a month later, I've been doing a lot of this now. If she isn't proud of me, if she would be ashamed of me doing all this, well, fuck, it's too late now. All right, so we're up at the ski trip. I'm apparently learning all this stuff, and I'm Snapchatting some people. I'm remaining social. I'm not completely disconnecting at times, and I'm trying to explain, to some friends who are curious, who have maybe roped in or whatever. And how do I explain it? With pictures like this. The best way I can put it is this. And what the fuck is this, bro? Like, apparently this is me, sort of drawing on a pizza box and arranging my food in what I felt like was an artistic way. The summation of this, like, the point is that I was just appreciating everything. Everything was beautiful to me, and so. But, like, as you can tell already, like, it's kind of hard for me to articulate shit right now. It's like everything is just so intense. Like, I can look at, I don't fucking know, a coffee cup and be infatuated by it by like 15 minutes, and then just like.
For like 15 minutes?
I'd love to talk like right now, but, I would be like 3 hours from now, and I would not know, like. All right, it would be 3 hours from now. What do I mean by that? I just mean you get so lost in time that if I had the intentions of Snapchatting you per se, I put my phone down and was like, I'm going to do that right after this, it would probably take me 3 hours to get to that Snapchat. Just because you don't think very linearly, it's like you want to do everything at once and you're accomplishing everything all at once, but slowly, and gradually. And it's a nice feeling, everything's building evenly. And what I would do was just sort of walk around the condo, and then in the future I would walk around wherever I was, the apartment up at Stores or whatever, and I would just sort of walk around and just sort of build everything gradually. I would like, all right, do a little bit of this, do a little bit of this. It's nice that way. I like working that way anyway. So the problem with working that way is that it's really hard for deadlines. You stay very productive, and at the end of a long period of time, you've gotten a lot done. But you haven't gotten anything done in each of those short periods of time, which I struggle with a lot. So here we go. I'm taking Snapchats of myself, writing things. I think this is because I feel as though if I try to talk, it's even like fucking with my ego too much. Like I don't want to have a voice. I don't want to physically articulate anything because it's almost as if like just how looking in the mirror was weird. I was like, holy shit, that's really what I look like, because you're seeing yourself completely differently. You also hear yourself completely differently, and now you're like, holy shit, this is what I sound like, so I don't know, I felt like it was easier for me to write stuff down than to even talk. And one thing I want to mention is that this was not purely an experience with LSD. This is not a study like completely confined to like LSD like it should be, because I was smoking the entire time. I rolled 20 joints to bring up with me, and every time I felt like I wanted to smoke a little more, which was basically the whole time, and I was up basically the whole time, I went outside and I smoked. It was really cold, but we had this nice balcony that faced the mountain, and for some reason, I never really felt the cold. I would stand out there the entire time. Here I am. I'm taking a picture of my my silhouette. And remember, I don't want to get into the mirrors thing now. Mirrors can be trippy. They can be. And I've had experiences with them. So this silhouette, it was just tripping me out. I was looking at the silhouette and watching, that little spark of the joint I was smoking. And I was just like, damn, this is interesting. For some reason, I feel the need to want to try and record myself explaining it. But remember, I have so many thoughts going on in my head. And also, the weed and everything. It's like I'm not really getting things out there. Right now, I'm just sort of trying to digest it all. So here we go.
The worst way I could try to describe acid?
The best way I could try to describe acid.
It's like you're standing out in the cold, looking at shit you never seen before. Place you never really, where you looking at reflections and shit. You're trying to talk through a joint that's lighted and gum with acid in it all at the same time, because you're not really trying to move much, because you can't move, because you're standing in the cold outside in a place you've never really been before.
Went in a circle there at the end. It's funny, like, I don't know if I've shown, played the clip now actually. The entire weekend I was rolling up the acid, the little pieces, into gum. And I did this for a while, actually, and I started calling it the magic gum up at UConn for a little bit. No, if you're wondering, totally, definitely fucking works. Put it in the gum, chew the gum. You're going to feel the paper, the first couple bites, but that's about it. Just keep chewing it, and then just spit it out when you feel like it. All right, but back to this clip, because this was an important clip, and what I ended up doing was listening to it and just feeling as though, for some reason, I wanted to draw it. I wanted to draw something. I was itching to draw. So the very first thing I ended up drawing, actually, I got so many, cool things to show you guys eventually, man. I had this little notebook with me because I knew I would need a notebook, if you guys know me, I always have pens on me, different colors and shit. You need that shit, bro. You need to be able to express your thoughts adequately enough when you feel like it. And at least this is how I feel. It's adequate enough. I can't tell you guys how much I felt like this piece of art, which it is to me. This is almost the best piece of art I've ever done, because I was just allowing my fingers to flow. And I wasn't even thinking about it. And all of a sudden, I was composing this piece that just made so much sense and had all this rhythm and just this composition to it. And I had no idea where it was coming from. And the words were just, they were just thrown on there so perfectly. And you can just see the entire time, I throw myself almost as if I was able to see myself, because, I had these glass mirrors and these reflections from these bright lights in the distance, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the hell? There's a face right there, there's a face right there, there's, that's a face within a face, here are the boards next to me on the balcony, here are the boards again on the balcony, this is what I'm looking at, this is where I'm standing, and this whole time, I'm just listening to it on repeat, the best way I could try to explain acid. It's funny because it doesn't even say the best way I could try to. It just goes the best acid, right? But I think that's maybe what I was trying to say internally. And I knew that I wanted to put the acid right there at the top of the painting for some reason. So I guess I just kind of went around. This little sketch right here, this peaking thing, that I placed there after the fact because one of the very first things I did when I got back to school was I hung these up right when you were walking out of my room so that I could just look up and see them all semester. And I put that there because, unfortunately, I was never able to finish these. I remember just thinking, I want to be able to just sit here and finish this, but there were so many other things I wanted to do, and I didn't want to just, I went on this ski trip with my 2 buddies, and what was I going to do, ghost them the whole time because I was trying to figure myself out on some sort of psychedelic thing, so I was trying to, balance a lot of things on this trip. But I just don't know where some of these techniques I see myself using in these drawings. I'm like, dude, I never used these before. I didn't know how to implement them correctly, and just somehow I did, and I still haven't done this. Look at the way I drew reflections. Still right there the whole time. It's the boards, the boards next to me. The whole time, the condo, it's just the condo and me in the wind in the LSD, just on these pages. I'm never going to do anything else like this ever again. So if anybody wants to buy this off me, make me an offer. This shit. So yeah, shit did get weirder at times when you can act yourself and film yourself separately at the same time. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before. It's just you get into this place of just extreme observation. You're detached from yourself. At least you hope to achieve that at times. And I definitely achieved it the first time on this occasion. And so, I would walk past a mirror and I would be like, whoa, what the hell was I just witnessing? It's almost as if you're 5 seconds behind and you're watching yourself do it before you're doing it or whatever. So at one point I was filming, I was looking around the room and I stopped, when I got to the mirror and I was like, whoa, it freaked me out, man. Oh yeah, fucking here's the clip. See, I look like I'm off my rocker, right? But I'm doing that random nonsense just so I can see myself doing something. And I'm not thinking about it, remember? I'm just really just allowing myself to do something, and I'm filming it. I'm like, whoa, this is funny. Okay, so maybe the most important part of this entire weekend was what you're about to watch. And what this is me in the bathroom, and just all of a sudden I had this overwhelming feeling that what I was about to be singing or humming, I needed to capture. So I whipped out my phone, and just these notes came out of nowhere. And I've been referring to it as the God mode, the God complex mode. And what I mean by mode is the actual scale, the actual musical term mode, whatever the actual term is, in which the notes, align in a certain way, certain melodies or whatever. And I'm going to do an entire video on this. Residual Feeling, which the album was originally named, the whole album is in this mode almost, at least a lot of the songs that were inspired by the LSD. It's almost as if, and I want to get into other artists that like to use this mode. It's pretty interesting to me now that I'm wondering, is there something actually mystical about, the notes, these notes that I seem to have discovered and then felt like were a mantra in my head for a long time. So here they are.
Holy shit, dude.
Look at me just feeling like I just discovered the world at the end there. Those notes, it's hard to explain, but I just try to let them come out, so it's not like I'm thinking about them as much. I really don't know how to put it. It's almost like the universe is trying to shove something out of my soul, and this is how it's coming out. And so when I'm doing those notes in the way that you just heard them, I was sitting there in the shower, at the end, and I'm just allowing them to come out as organically and almost painfully. It's I'm exhausted and I'm out of breath, and I'm I can't really do it right now. I almost want to edit a guitar thing. I'm going to do a whole video on those notes and how I use them throughout the entire album and whatever, so I don't feel the need to get the guitar out now, but I will be. I will be. Don't worry. I think we're up there 2 nights. So I think this was Saturday night, and I had been up for a long time at this point, but I'm still going. And I was dosing myself on quarter tabs kind of regularly at this point throughout the weekend. I wish I had been keeping track, Now I keep track. Now I keep exact track of when I do it. But back then, I didn't think I needed to keep track of how much I did. So I wish I knew how much I did. I don't even know, how many micrograms were each tab. I just don't know. But I know at some point I must have been on a decent amount, So, I'm still in this very trippy sense. Like, and if you ask the buddies I was with, like, yes, I was definitely still in this very trippy sense, but I still wanted to go to the bar. I'm like, yeah, guys, I mean, we came here, we were going to go out, so let's go to the bar. So we had a couple beers at the bar, kind of late night. Poor guy, he had to drive in the snowstorm or whatever, and I'm just falling in love with this Grateful Dead jam band, bro. I'm like, this is fucking yes. Like, I know live music is good. Look at all these people who know live music is good, and I want to be right there playing one of those instruments. That was pretty awesome, man. I got to talk to him for a little bit, and I just kind of felt like I was owning the room. A lot of times it almost just feels like you're owning the rooms. Like, you can just feel yourself attracting attention and just, having this energy about you. And, you're just cool about it. Almost like you're fucking Robert Downey Jr. mode or fucking something like that, So I was watching the band and I'm like grooving and you're doing the subtle dance the whole time, while you're smiling. And it's so hard to capture that, man. I don't know why I was so effortless that night, especially with no sleep and just like apparently I'm supposed to have this anxiety going out in public on this stuff. And I'm like, no. I don't even want to go out in public anymore without this stuff. It's kind of interesting, kind of weird. Another thing about this night, I stole a shot glass. You can't even tell this is from Vermont by any means. But I had a friend of mine ask me to grab her something, and I never gave it to her. And I don't know, sometimes I even forget I have this, but it's just, the funny thing is I like how it's not marked because it's like I know it came from Vermont. If there's any point to be made there, is that I definitely started to feel as though things were going to have a lot more sentimental value coming up. Because, I'm going to start talking a lot about objects that I felt like started to grow a lot of sentimental value simply because I was tripping, while they had some role in my life. Or even just the era you're in, For some reason, I place a lot of value on specific items. Like this crazy picture, for instance. I like this picture because it shows that I'm wearing this pink sweatshirt, and it's the last time I wore the pink sweatshirt was on that trip. I made this sweatshirt, Trippy Labs Mach 1, with bleach, and it was supposed to be because I was going to be Bryce from Simi Valley, if you know what that is, for Halloween, and so I made like this cutoff. It was kind of this color originally. I dumped bleach on it, it turned like spotted pink, and I like ripped these sleeves off. And I was like, yeah, this is a very trippy sweatshirt. But as soon as I tripped, I was like, you don't deserve this sweatshirt. Take it off. You're not wearing it anymore. So I gave it to a friend, like immediately after when I got back to school. Someone I cared about. It was still an important sweatshirt. I put a lot of work into it. It's like a Nike sweatshirt, a custom made one. But I was like, you can't wear this anymore now that you understand what this stuff is. It's like a poser sweatshirt now, So I immediately made a new sweatshirt. It was the actual Labs one, the black one. Interesting take there, man. I like tripped in it and I was like, nope, gotta give it up. I felt so much as if I was a different person after this weekend, and I told people this, that I felt as though like I had to signify my transformation in many ways. I was like, this sweatshirt signifies a time in your life, before this, and I wanted to be very clear. If you saw me in that sweatshirt, in a picture of that sweatshirt, it was before that event, So yeah, at this point, I'm like feeling as though this weekend is so important. I'm like, I need to capture all of this. Like I transformed in this condo. I'm going to take my GoPro and I didn't even turn the lights on. I do not know why, but I just fucking went around the entire condo, videotaping all the spots that were important to me anyways. I felt like I just sort of resided in for a while I was finding myself. I go into the bathroom. I focus the camera on the light for some reason, some trippy footage there. Now I'm taking a video of myself in front of the mirror. I'm just trying to really absorb everything. Remember, I'm trying to make sure I can view this in a sober state of mind afterwards. And I knew I was going to want to analyze this afterwards. The entire time I was doing this stuff, I was justifying it anyways by telling myself that, it's for science. Like, I'm doing this because I'm going to make content out of it. It's like a nice, productive way to go about it. And I only knew I was going to want to go about it that way, a couple hours after trying it. And I was like, okay, this stuff, So what did I proceed to do afterwards? The GoPro filmed me for like 4 hours and then died. And I changed position a couple times. Nothing abnormal. I don't know why I did it. But that's what I did. I figured if anything weird was going to happen when I tried to sleep, I might as well capture it, right? Now this next clip, which is probably the last thing I filmed, it's pretty eerie, man. Like, I don't know why I filmed it now that I think about it, and I don't know. When I watch it, don't let it creep you out too much is what I'm saying. But it's just something to think about. I'd love to do an entire video just analyzing this clip.
Well, here we are at the end of it all, and has it been everything you ever wanted?
So for some reason, I was characterizing the end of the weekend as the end of it all, and I was questioning whether I had gotten everything that I wanted out of it. That's the most basic way I can put it for now because I don't want to get into it. So the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with is me singing a John Mayer song while preparing a joint to go smoke and, rolling up another quarter tab because that's what I was doing all weekend. Every 3 hours I was rolling up a quarter tab and I was smoking joints periodically. And for some reason I felt the need to capture this. I wanted to make sure there was proof that all of these great things, at least what I thought were great, these wheels turning in my head finally for once, I really wanted to make sure that I had evidence this stuff was coming from something. And that's the reason why I filmed myself doing it numerous times. And whenever I film myself, it's because I don't want skeptics. I don't want people to be like, what? He's doing all this for content, for promotion. He's trying to do this, publicity. He's not actually, no, I am actually fucking experimenting with this shit. So this is me singing and preparing my drugs. And I thought it was very interesting because I was already tripping. And so how often are you going to hear someone's first trip, a musician, and them singing something? So it's almost just kind of like a beautiful performance on its own. So I hope you guys like this video. I have a lot more stuff like this coming, so please feel free to support and share if you're interested. And thank you for your consideration.
She puts the colors inside of my world, but she's just like a maze where all of the walls are continually changed. But I've done all I can, stand on the steps with my heart on my hand. But I'm starting to see maybe it has nothing to do with me.